Hello everyone, this is Fenris Lycon from the future. Unfortunately, when I was recording this video, the audio didn't get recorded, so I'm re-recording on top of this. So I'll be narrating as I go through, and there's two plans for this video. First, as I'm kind of gesturing, is we're a little bit behind in producing the blue science. We're going to expand that slightly. I don't notice it right away, but it's actually a problem with my ore. We'll go fix that in a little bit. The second thing is we're eventually going to, in this video, get red science. So that's the second tier of science, and we'll have it produced by the end of this video. To do that, we'll need to get oil. And before that, like I said, we'll expand the resources we need for blue science. I notice I'm short in circuits, but like I'm also short on iron. And
the sorter is a transportation feature of cargoes between facilities. It will automatically.
Yeah, I turned off the tutorial, but it seems to like coming up every single time. So again, our circuit's expanded. And we'll also need the magnets too, but I think that's mostly because the iron is a little short.
You built a wireless power.
I've built it multiple times. Thank you, tutorial. Looks like we personally are short on iron. Even our iron smelters are short on iron ore. So while we're setting up this red science, we'll end up kind of going through and just selecting all the ones that use only blue science. Yeah, I don't notice right away, but I think it's a smeltery problem. Because in theory, that the iron ore mine up there should be enough to handle all of this fine. But I never connected it to the power grid. I didn't notice that, so that's the kind of bottleneck in this, and it's stalling out our production. Only, well, I guess we do need more labs too, because at least I don't know how long it takes for the science to get consumed, but at least for blue science, it's almost 1 for 1. It might even be a little bit short, but we're not even using
Matrix
it all.
Lab. You can use it to make super matrices.
Yeah, that's really the 11th one we've built. I don't know why the tutorial keeps popping up. Alright, so here's where I believe I noticed, like, this is really a iron mine problem. I'm even short of iron to produce more iron, more mines. But I had forgotten that I never connected the power grids together when I threw a little windmill up there. So set up a second mind, and then I noticed, there you go. There's my noticing that I really needed to connect it to the power grid, so it has. But while I'm here, I'll throw in the second mind and get them both connected.
Splitter with 4 directions.
Yep, right now the power grid looks good. I will end up needing to expand in the future, not in this video. Alright, got the iron ore sorted out. And now we should be pretty good on this production. We should actually have extra iron. But it's nice to have I personally think way more in the beginning, so you can kind of pick it up and use it yourself until you're able to build out all those kind of specialties. So as you can see, I just being able to pick up these resources, it saves you a lot of time. Eventually we will have more advanced things automated. I believe I'm pretty short on iron. I could have even picked up the ore to help myself up. Checking that everything's kind of looking good. I need to actually upgrade the importers with the larger labs. Double checking to make sure everything has got enough iron and magnets. So throw one more down. Now that we have plenty of iron ore. Upgrading the sorters into it for the magnets. Should let them run now kind of constantly. which is currently our bottleneck for blue science. Although we're blowing through these sciences, and we have the oil, now we can actually get going on that red science. So we'll pick up all the kind of the resources we need to get that expansion going. And currently we're going to kind of just go through, select any, we need that for the red science, but by the time we get the red science we'll end up going through kind of most of the sciences that only require it. I'm just going to check to make sure there's not anything we need ahead of time, but it's really, I'm just going to end up queuing up all the ones that just require blue science, because I found in this game, by the time you you get the next science set up, even with like a so-so setup for science, you'll pretty much get everything before that. For these beginner ones, they just kind of take resources, so I'm just kind of also thinking about that too. The mech upgrades are very nice and definitely worth it, so I highly recommend it, going for it. So, red science requires oil. So we want to look for an oil resource. We have one there. But the other thing we want, is kind of want it close to the coal. So we have the coal there and we have 2 oil there. So, we'll end up going for these 2 oil over here. Really just to start off, one of them's probably fine. Because I'm narrating this, I'll speed up our journey because that's a little bit far. So we'll get everything queued up. We do need, before we do that, we need a little steel, make sure we can produce everything as we're walking over, and we should be pretty good. Actually, we don't even have steel production set up, so we'll get that set up quickly. I'm actually pretty low on power, so I think that's actually one of our bottlenecks currently, is just power. While I'm doing this, while you narrate, you kind of don't notice, and you're thinking just like the next thing, so you don't kind of notice these little details until you like watch the video. So as you can see, when you're putting anything down that requires power, you'll see the brown
You
out.
built a storage, which can be...
It's not our first time. Point as secondary temporarily, as we need the steel. So we'll need a refinery and an extractor, ideally multiple refineries, but it'd be a little bit tough to build in the beginning. There we go. So we have the extractor, we have the refinery. We're going to head over. I'll speed things up, just because it's a little bit far from our main base, so just walking over there. There we go. Put the extractor down. And the refinery. Oh, once it gets built, and once we Still waiting on the conveyor belts too. Well, I'll need power over here, so when you are burning things, you should kind of not leave. You should leave wood to the last. I should have done the plants there. Eventually, we'll need it, kind of way in the future for the like green crystals. And you need both wood, water, and plant materials. Plant material is way more common, so I should really be burning that before anything. And that coal I had in my inventory, but that's all right. Eventually, all gets automated, so it doesn't even become a concern. Alright, we have the refinery built. Put it for oil
This facility
refinery.
produce multiple products. To divide them, you need to set a filter on the sorter. You can use tab
So,
or the arrow
there's-
keys on the right side of the keyboard to quickly.
There's two ways to kind of sort these resources. You can do it like the turtle said on the sorter, the thing pulling it out, or you can kind of do it in the splitter. So whichever way you want to do it, I think it's a little bit better to do it on the sorter, because you already kind of have it split out, and just pulling it out tends to be a little bit on the slower side. So it does require a little more attention from you. So also, it's a little bit better to do kind of your production building on a like east-west selection. I'm currently doing it on northwest. You can kind of see the grids don't always line up. It doesn't matter too much, but you'll get kind of those artifacts where the grid has to shrink because closer to the equator you have more area, closer to the poles you have less area to kind of grid up.
You have done building the first power transmission facility.
This is most definitely not our first one. So we'll start getting that pulled over. So for red science, we need the graphite and we need hydrogen. And there's kind of like 3 stages of oil production. And it's kind of falls around what's most important in your stage of the game. In the beginning, you're doing oil for the hydrogen. Hydrogen is like the key, because that's your limiting factor on the red science. So the only real reason we're doing oil production is for that hydrogen. We want as much as we can get. Eventually, we'll be able to get a new process that will produce more hydrogen from that oil, which is great. That's what we need for red science. That kind of solves our problem. Eventually, we will have more uses for the refined oil, and we'll need that just as much or even more than the hydrogen. Sorry. And so we'll want that over the hydrogen because we'll have other sources, like we need more production. And the thermal power stations, they always run even if you don't need the power. And when you first start out, you might think, oh great, like that's terrible, like I'm wasting resources. But oil is an unlimited resources. You often need a resource to be deleted. And it's great that it's always running because you can kind of guarantee that whether it's the refined oil or the hydrogen, you're burning off your excess. So we need the graphite and hydrogen. You do get a way to get graphite from oil. I like sticking to graphite from carbon because it's like the only thing carbon's really good for. And like I said, in the future you have other uses for your oil. But we will enter that second stage of oil, which is you can turn it into graphite and hydrogen, and that process produces a lot more hydrogen, and that's why you do it, because that's what you need for the red science. Yeah, we're in kind of a brownout stage, so between this video and the next, I'll end up putting kind of a better power grid down. And once we get the hydrogen over, we can get our lab set up. A little low on resources in my inventory, but we have just enough to do the sorters in. Yeah, low on power. And now we have our first science being produced. Clearing a little space, and we'll have to pull it over. So, unfortunately, it's a little far. We'll need a lot of these conveyor belts. And we start pulling them out. And that's our first science. Now we just need to get over to where we're doing the research. Gain a little extra resources while waiting for our drones to build. And there we go. We have our red signs to our research. We'll need a little more resources, and then we can build the sorters in. But this is the red science production setup. Hopefully next time I can actually get the tutorial disabled, and I'll have the power grid hopefully all sorted out between then and there. Well, thank you everyone, and if you liked the video, please subscribe, and if send a like, send a comment. It helps a ton. This is probably currently my favorite game, and I hope everyone is enjoying themselves.